Last year, I may not have given you my heart, but I did give you a video of me making giant gingerbread dice. Now, this year for Christmas, I was wondering how I could level up my baking, and I thought, why not make a giant gingerbread dice tower that I could use to roll my regular D&D dice. So adventurers, that is what we are doing today. You're gonna have my sweet and spicy gingerbread recipe, and I'm gonna show you how I built this monstrosity. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? All right, here is my gingerbread recipe. I get compliments on it every single year. We're going to take our butter that is softened room temperature and unsalted, and we're going to whip that until it's really light and pale. We're going to, at that point, add in our dark brown sugar and a ton of molasses. I was upset that I couldn't find like a Costco size container of molasses this year, so I went through like 6 things of the small molasses. Once that's all beaten, we're going to add in the eggs, and we're going to beat those on medium until there's no streaks of egg remaining. We don't want any eggy bits in our cookies. And then we're going to go in with the spices. Now, your traditional spices for gingerbread are, of course, ginger, cinnamon, some nutmeg or clove, but I like to spice things up a bit. I double the amount of ginger, and then I add in cayenne pepper, chili powder, and black pepper. And here's the thing, I prefer my gingerbread to have a little bit of a kick to it. I find that like store-bought gingerbread can be kind of boring, so we're going to like spice it up. Then once all of that is mixed in, we're going to add in our flour a little bit at a time. And you'll notice that it's a little bit drier. That's intentional. You can roll it out thicker and it'll be nice and soft, but because I'm making structural pieces, I wanted this to be a little firmer. Now to go chill in the fridge for at least like 2 hours. You might think we might have to wait, but psych! Guess what I prepped the night before? I'm gonna preheat the oven to 350. We need to cut out some parchment paper. Hello. So these are the pieces I have for the tower. It might look like a mess right now, and you would be correct. Okay, so I've been watching The Grinch while I work on this, and I have a couple thoughts. One, the neglect of Cindy Lou Who. You leave your child unattended in a post office where there's heavy machinery about. You don't hear her cries for help. And then you let her go up the mountain on her own to someone that the entire village is afraid of to deliver a handwritten note. I just feel like maybe you shouldn't have your access to your kid. Do Whovians, Who's in Whoville? What is the proper, is it Whovians? It's a Whovilation, so I would assume Whovians. Do Whovians, are they just not engaged in their political processes? Because how can they elect such an asshole? He is arguably the worst. Also, if he was on the mountain, hello? Check on him. Did his parents just not check on him when he ran away at like 8 years old? Did his moms just not come after him? Did they all feel like I need to call Child Protective Services? Literally, not a single person was there for the Grinch's well-being, and it greatly upsets me. Oh boy. Yeah, I gotta let this sit at like room temperature for a minute, because this is not wanting to work with me. Okay, no, but can we talk about the fact that the Grinch... Okay, so not only is Cindy Lou Who unsupervised, you have someone you think as a villain who you let your child climb up the mountain to go see alone, unattended, and it's also kind of treacherous up there. We're just not gonna talk about that? The Grinch says Cindy Lou Who is a bad ginger character, but also, I mean, like, so is everybody else. Look who they elected. And then the Grinch, yes, steals everyone's presents, and he has this big, like, heart grows, what was it, 2-3 sizes, and they welcome him back into the community, but can we talk about the fact that, like, what he stole would have landed him in prison here in the US? Several felonies over. Also the fact that Cindy Lou Who almost died again. So we have 1. This is barely long enough, but I think we can fit 2 per thing. So, and I already made a double batch of gingerbread. I might have to make more. I mean, the fact that they have a police officer indicates that, like, there is crime in Whoville. So you would think maybe green goes good with orange and that he would look good in a jumpsuit, Martha May. Because I gotta do 8 of these. Holy crap. I might have grossly underestimated how much gingerbread I need. Also, is Max the only dog in Whoville? Where are the other dogs? You're telling me not a single Who had a dog that woke them up barking because someone broke into their house? Not a single other dog? Max is the only dog in all of Whoville? How did Max come to be? Is Max some sort of like eldritch god that just kind of like came into existence on a snowflake? Also, what happens if the snowflake melts? Does all of Whoville die? These are questions that are unanswered. See, can I get all of the chimney on here? There we are. Like hell, even a Whoville cat, I feel, would have been a better, because if they have Santa, they have an understanding of what reindeer are, which they have an understanding of livestock, and they have roast beasts, which insinuates that they have animals that they consume. So if we're assuming, I mean, it might be a slight leap in logic, but if Max is the only dog, where are the other dogs? Where are the other animals? All we see are Whos. All we see are Whos. These are good. Hee hee hee. It's brick. All right, to re-roll them, that's okay. They're not baked yet, so every mistake is fixable. There's Santa. So, I mean, would Santa not understand how the Grinch was hurting in the spirit of Christmas? There's also this crazy capitalism that the Grinch has an understanding of. Does that mean that there is socialist Whoville somewhere? Does Whoville have trade partners? Okay, so I have the chimney pieces and the skirt all cut out and rolled, and so I'm gonna put these in the fridge to chill. You know what I didn't realize is the fact that if I escalate in complexity every year, what the hell am I gonna do next? All right, so the upper tiers I'm gonna roll out to be a little bit thinner. Upside down for all of my stuff. This is concerning. Basically, I want whatever psychiatric medications the entire town of Whoville is on, because goodness, to be that carefree, what a dream. And if it's the 1000th, then they have record keeping going back over 1,000 years, which is very impressive. But is this the first Grinch they've ever encountered? Is this the first green person they've ever encountered? Because like one of the reasons that the Grinch was made fun of so badly was because he didn't look like everybody else. Can we take a minute to talk about where that mayor got the money for a rock that size for Martha May? I have questiones. Public servant salary and you're waving that kind of stuff out? Oh no. Do the Whos have like a flag? Is there a Who? Is there like a Who United Nations? Are there different snowflakes? If Santa visits them, if Santa visits the Whos on a snowflake, are there other Who villages on other snowflakes? And if so, do they communicate with each other through like a Who satellite system? We definitely have room for one more up here. So I am rewatching The Grinch right now, and Jim Carrey is wearing a hat. The Grinch takes off the Santa hat, okay, and puts on a hat that is the WSS Whoville in the style of one of those hats that dictates what ship you served on. And I have questions because to me this insinuates there's conflict in the Who world, and I feel like perhaps we're not talking about this enough. Does Whoville have its own like Christmas movie industry? Is there a war between the snowflakes? Is the WSS 70 like a ship that can float between snowflakes? Because I was thinking, oh my gosh, the Grinch is a genius, LOL, haha. He's able to build this whole thing. I wonder if he worked for Lockheed Martin. And then I see that, and now I feel that it is actually a distinct possibility that the Grinch worked for Does the Grinch know nuclear secrets? Who knows? Is there nuclear warfare in Whoville? Again, who knows? Is there nuclear warfare in the Who universe? And we have the word blitzkrieg. Where did the Who's side? I gotta know, are they Axis or are they allies? Am I taking this too seriously? Probably.
You choose to listen to a little not to be taken seriously, girl.
Why are you saying it like that? No. He didn't say little not to be taken seriously child. No. He said little not to be taken seriously girl. No one speaks to little baby Taylor Momsen that way. It's the true spirit of Christmas. Poverty. These are chilled. These are going in the oven for about 15 minutes. I think he might be having a cardiac emergency. Where's Christina Yang? Okay, so these just came out of the oven and they are looking spectacular. Also, I had another thought regarding the Grinch. At the scene where the sleigh comes in to town at the very end of the movie, and he's like, all right, you got me, I confess. He like extends his hands to the police officer. Aren't you gonna cuff me? Put me in a chokehold. Blind me with pepper spray. Maybe police brutality is multi-universal. Not the mayor trying to start. What does this translate to? Moving on to the windows. For this, I'm taking 2 parts sugar, 1 part water, and I'm heating it up until it reaches the hard crack stage. We do not want it to become caramel. We want these to be somewhat clear. We are at hard crack, and we are gonna start sugar windows. And we're gonna repeat this process for everything. Once these are cool, we're going to, and I don't know how long that's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a minute before these are cool enough to remove from the silicone. So I will come back when all of the windows are done. So now that these are, oh, hello, you can kind of see, so it's like this one looks super clear. You can see my finger pass behind it, or if I run this behind it. So here's the thing, I'm not happy with them just being clear. So we're going to add a couple details to all of the windows on the tower. And you might be like, Hillary, the sugar doesn't look super great. 1, I didn't use isomalt sugar for this because I wasn't able to find any in time. 2, that's just kind of what happens when you scoop melted sugar. I didn't want to run the risk of pouring it and hurting myself like I did last year. So I scooped it and it kind of crystallized, but it looks okay because it kind of has like a frosted window effect, which we're kind of going for. So we're just going to work with it. So I'm going to do both the inside and the outside. I have edible ink markers. I'm using the brush side. I'll link these down below. I don't have like an affiliate link or anything. It's just what I purchased. And we're doing like a simple kind of gothic window design. So like a little flower up at the top and then the center panel. And then you'll see on the back, it kind of shows through, and we're gonna do the same thing on the front so that the window itself looks frosted, but the, like when it's illuminated from the inside, it's gonna look good. It's gonna look good. Looking, and check it out. That looks so good. And so if it's on a slight angle, it'll have like the appearance of like double pane glass, because if we turn it sideways, you'll have the back show through. So unfortunately, because of time constraints, I was not able to get the tower illuminated, but it would have worked. So I am gonna give myself credit for that where credit is due. The other thing that I'm doing right here is I'm taking some cocoa powder and I'm adding detail to the gingerbread. I felt like the gingerbread like pieces
looked really clean, and the look I wanted to go for with this ice tower was kind of like a really weathered old wizard tower that's in the middle of nowhere, kind of Krampusy, but not quite. So I didn't want it to look like fresh and clean out of the oven. So we are taking some cocoa powder and a couple different brushes, and we're working it into like the crevices in the gingerbread and places where it naturally like dips in, like around the windows, to give it some additional dimension. And I actually think it looked really, really good. There's also a spot where I had to repair some gingerbread, and it made like this little ledge, and it, you know, it just added some dimension. Like if you look, it looks good. So I recommend this if you're trying to like give your gingerbread an aged look. Definitely try that. We're also moving on to our royal icing. Now this is super easy. I've been doing it for forever, but you are going to separate your egg yolks and your egg whites. And I have a tip for you. If you get a tiny bit of egg yolk, just take a paper towel and blot the egg yolk out of the egg white. It works for me every time. And that way you don't have to sort your egg yolks and egg whites, because it can be kind of a messy and tedious process. But we're going to bring those up in our like handheld mixer until they're nice and foamy. And I didn't want just like a shallow layer of foam. I wanted the entire thing to be just a little foamy. We're going to add in our lemon juice, and then we're going to beat that again for like a minute. And then we're going to add in our powdered sugar. Now, the thing is with royal icing for gingerbread, because I am making such a large structure, I need it to be a bit on the firmer side. So we're going to really just make sure this is like sweet concrete almost. So once you have a texture you're happy with, you're going to set that aside. I'm also going to dye some of it black. Now you'll see I'm using some black gel food coloring, and that's fine, but it kind of has this like bluish gray color, and while it's going to get darker, I wanted it to have a warmer tone, so I'm actually going to add some cocoa powder to bring some like of the reds back in, and that helped a lot. Now we're going to cover it with some plastic wrap and let it set for like 2-3 hours, and you'll see it gets so much darker. So when you're in doubt of if your royal icing is dark enough, just let it sit. Just let it sit and it will become more saturated. We're going to transfer that to a piping bag, and then we're going to start adding those details around the windows to really make them pop. I'm obsessed with how the windows turned out. I just used a small round piping tip on my piping bag, and I added in only a little bit of the royal icing at a time, because if you apply too much pressure and it's too full, it'll explode out everywhere. Also, please enjoy this video of Salem destroying his Santa's workshop.
Improvise, adapt, overcome, and so it begins.
So I used melted sugar to assemble this. Be extremely careful if you try this at home, because you can burn yourself, and because sugar is so hot, the burns will blister. So I got one bad burn on the side of my hand, which has since healed, but I got one on my finger that wasn't as bad. But it is molten sugar, so please be extremely careful. I also made like a portable gingerbread house base so that I could put this on my like full-size sheet tray for final assembly. And you can see I tried using the royal icing to stick it upright, but I was really trying to avoid using this caramelized sugar. But you know what? It is what it is, and it turned out great. The melted sugar really worked well though for repairing a couple pieces, and then I just propped up the panels with extra molasses cans.
Ever find yourself making an octagon and accidentally turn something into a septagon and just totally cut down on one side? Because that's what happened here. The first one has 8 sides, but the second additional layer has 7. How that happened, I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out though. Oh, that scared the shit out of me. That scared the shit out of me. I can stick my whole arm in here.
we're just gonna work on assembling this. For the dice chute, I had to put some ramps inside the dice tower, and then I just had this chute as the main exit. I had to put some supports down though, because it wouldn't stand up on its own. So it looks a little funky, but hey, it worked.
Okay, I think maybe like 2 or 3 more pieces internally to, yeah, I think 2 or 3 pieces internally, and then we'll stack, and I'll make sure that the chute lines up. All right, time for assembly. The time is like 12:47. I have been at this for 3 days. It is, I genuinely don't think you're ready for this. I'm working on final touches right now, and then I will show you our dice tower.
Look, that is just the face of focus. So yeah, I just had to do final assembly, and somehow I was able to make the fact that we only had 7 sides on the top final layer work with the 8-sided tower. So that turned out really well. But yeah, so we just used the royal icing to stick everything together. And what I'm doing now is I'm taking some white food pigment, and I'm actually brushing it onto the caramel that formed like all of these little icicles, and I'm making them look snowy. And I'm also taking some of that pigment and applying it as frost in the windows. Standing proudly at 32.5 inches tall and 36 inches in circumference, we have our Wizard's Dice Tower. Now, look at this thing. It is huge. Truly, like, there's nothing I can do to provide you a sense of scale because it is so large and so heavy. But it does work. It does work. Unfortunately, the sides of the sheet tray are a little low, so with the velocity that the dice gets going out of the dice tower, sometimes they just skirt along the floor because they just get flung out of the tray. But this was such a fun project. Did it turn out entirely how I envisioned? No, I was limited with time, and you know, the laws of physics were not on my side for a couple of things. But honestly, I think it turned out really, really well. Would I tweak it and try and make it again? Yeah. I don't know what I'm gonna do next year because I feel like last year I made the giant gingerbread dice and that was so cool and successful. And then this year I made the giant gingerbread tower and that also turned out really well. So I really don't know what I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do next year. Do I make both? I don't know. So that brings us to the end of the episode, Adventures. If you liked what you saw, smash that like button. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, drop those down below. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Ring the bell for notifications so you are the first to know when new videos go live. Share this video with someone you want to get in the Christmas spirit with, and that is it. So Adventurers, as always, take care of yourselves, do something nice for someone else, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
So I just noticed there are bananas in the Grinch that stole Christmas on the spot, like the shot where the sleigh rests up against the tree. There's like a huge bunch of bananas that's hanging off of the sleigh, and they are currently in like a very cold alpine environment. And to me that indicates that they have trade with tropical whoos. I want to know about the tropical whoos because I didn't see no palm trees. I didn't see no banana trees. I didn't see any of that. So where did the bananas come from? Do they have a who IRS? Do they have a who tax system? Do they have a who postal service? Do they have who HUD? Do they have a who Department of Education? Do they have a who, like, FBI? Do they have who CIA? Is it like one of those things where the, like, little elves, like, launch themselves down, you know, like, what's that stupid movie where it's, oh my gosh, there's like 2 elves and they go undercover to go save Santa Claus or something like that. Anyway, is there a who CPS? Because I would like to make several complaints. Is there like a who governor? Is there a who president? Is there a who monarch? What is it like? Do they have a who trade system? They're in the middle of nowhere. They're completely surrounded by mountains and they're on a snowflake. So like, what is the trade system like? These are the questions I need answers to. Bye.